this is it. This is Parenting Porcupines, episode number 3. And in between the break, because we're doing episodes 2 and 3 back to back, in between the break, we were actually talking about religion. And, that was super heavy. So instead, we thought we'd talk about racism. Bring it. I think more than anything to me is that this group of libertarian women is getting together and bringing on these hard conversations and saying, like, let's address this from our perspective. But more than anything, what we share is our values from a libertarian perspective. So I'm Kasie. I'm in Columbia, South Carolina. I've got a 12-year-old daughter, and I'm bringing to this conversation about racism the idea that I grew up in Northern Virginia, and I honestly thought I was colorblind, as if that was a thing. Okay. Jessica, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Jessica. I live in the upstate of South Carolina. I have 2 sons. They are preteen and elementary aged. And to this conversation, I'm coming from a place of having, in recent years, learned what privilege means and how that has impacted the way that I talk to my children about race. And the fact that I actually do talk to them about race instead of trying to be the colorblind parent that I thought I should be.
Right. I got you. All right. Good stuff. Melissa, tell us about you.
I'm down here in the Low Country in Charleston. I've got 3 kids, and I like the difference in the dichotomy of the North versus South. I'm from Connecticut, and you'd think, hey, there's no racism in the North, and you are so wrong. I've seen more of it in the North than I have in the South. So it's very interesting.
It'd be a good compare and contrast for us. I want to say the last time I saw a Confederate flag flying on somebody's house was in Maine.
Oh, yes. I saw more in Connecticut than in South Carolina.
Yeah, I was kind of wild with just you're in Maine. Like, what are you doing? And just sort of disbelief. So yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about that. Alex, tell us about you. Where are you at, and what are you bringing here to this conversation about racism and libertarianism?
Well, I'm also in the Low Country in Charleston. I have a 1-year-old tiny man named Perry, and I'm right there with Jessica. I realized my privilege, I don't know, it's been a couple of years ago now, and it weighs very heavily on me, and I want to help in any way that I can. And it's going to be a stumble, because that's what this is, because it's all very new. But ultimately, I want my heart to be in the right place, and I'm challenging myself to do better every day to stand up against injustice and racism that is all around us.
I love that. And I love the idea that Joe Jorgensen put out at our state convention about being anti-racist, because it's not enough to be passively not racist. It's more about going out there and addressing racism when you see it. And so I'm not lying when I say I thought myself colorblind. When we moved to Columbia, South Carolina, there's a much higher population of African Americans, Black people here in Columbia. And I've understood now, just over the last few weeks, that there's a difference between the two. And so trying to sort of navigate even just the vocabulary of this is brand new for me. But I have a good friend, a best friend, my friend Renee. She's Jamaican, and she moved up here from Miami. And she and I became quick friends here in our little suburban community. And her kids, my kids, good friends. They run around together all the time. She took Holly to a church picnic one time. She came back. She said Holly was glowing because she was the only white kid there. And I kind of looked at her like, I don't know what to do with that except to kind of laugh at it. And so Renee said she was mostly embarrassed that all the other Black moms there were like, why didn't you put sunscreen on that white baby? You're like, what is wrong with you? And Renee was like, it didn't even occur to me to put sunscreen on her. But like, so when I said to Holly, like, so did you have a good time with Auntie Renee? And I said, did you have a good time with the kids? And she goes, oh my gosh, the hot dogs were so good there. Like, that's it. That was her only response. Not like I was the only white kid there. Not I felt uncomfortable. Not Auntie Renee didn't give me any sunscreen. Like there was no, it was 100% about the hot dogs. And I think that's really what brought us to this conversation, was like, your kids don't see it because they just see other kids that they connect with. And so I grew up thinking like that's the way it was supposed to be. And I thought like I've always been that way. And then I realized in my 30s, 40s, right? Like that I was ignoring a Black experience I didn't know was happening. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. So Jessica has the opposite experience of me. I came out of a situation in Northern Virginia where to me the color just wasn't an issue. It was about for all of us had the same opportunity in Northern Virginia, but that wasn't the same for you. Jessica, tell us what your experience was.
Well, I mean, growing up, I grew up in Greer, which is a small southern town on the outskirts of Greenville, South Carolina. And I mean, I didn't really have an opposite experience growing up, but I think that racial issues and my privilege came to light because I became very close to, I'm still one of my best friends. She was a coworker at my prior job, and a Black woman, and she has 2 Black sons, amazing kids, a wonderful husband. We adore them, the whole family. And one day she came to work and she was telling me that her son, who's like a football star, he volunteers in his community. I mean, this kid is like, if I had a daughter, it's who I would want her to marry. Like, he's the perfect young man. And he had been out with some friends. They went to a trampoline park, and they had purchased him a very nice car for graduation because he made good grades. I'm telling you, the kid was amazing. And as he was leaving, because this young Black man leaving the trampoline park in nice clothes, getting into a nice car, and he was stopped by a police officer, and for no reason. And the thing that they said he did, they actually went back and tried to do, and they could not do it. It was not possible. And so it was just that harassment. And then I think that was really the moment when it just struck me that I would never have to worry about that. And I think what did it was when she told me that he said when he got home, "Mom, I did everything you taught me to do. I kept my hands on the steering wheel. I used my manners." And that broke me. That, as a mom of boys, as a mom, as her friend, as someone who loves her and adores her, that would happen. And I think that was really the moment that I knew that I didn't want my kids to ever not understand that they have a responsibility, right? And so that's my experience.
How do you talk to your kids about being able to make those differentiations, and like what was that like for you guys?
I don't know that we've ever had a specific conversation about how to talk about other people. My children have never said, my Black friend, they have them, but that I don't think I've ever heard them describe someone by their skin color. It's their tall, long hair, descriptions like that.
Or how they know them, right? Like, it's my friend from camp, or my friend from 4th grade, or
It's some random description, whatever pops into their head. But my son, when he was, I'm trying to think where we were living, and that'll tell me how old he was. 3. He must have been 3. He had an ADC Mouse subscription. It's a internet site that you learn stuff on, and you can have an avatar, and his avatar was lavender colored. I don't know why. He was purple. It was wonderful. He loved it. Well, we had one UPS guy, the same UPS guy all the time. And one day the UPS guy came to our door, and I opened the door, and my 3-year-old son looked at him and said, "You're my daddy." I'm like, "No, this is not your daddy." And my son looks at me and goes, "Yes, he is, because I am light purple and he is dark purple."
Oh my God.
Oh my God. I was horrified. The UPS guy busts out laughing. He's like, "That's the greatest thing I've heard this week." He thought it was wonderful. I was mortified. Okay, 3-year-olds, what are you going to do with them? I don't,
Yeah, like you
yeah.
can't predict whether or not they're going to out you in front of other people. And where do they get this information, right? And where do they get this vocabulary? So this is what you have to look forward to, Alex,
Oh
when
yeah.
Barry can talk, is how is he going to represent these folks? So how much you and Sean, right? So you guys have in your circle of friends, like what does this conversation sound like in your circle of friends?
Ooh, so I have a little story like the other gals, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So my husband's best friend at work, he is a Black man. His name is Marcus. And Marcus has been invaluable in my life because Marcus lets me ask stupid white girl questions and doesn't judge me. Able to be stupid and to be unjudged. And I do not expect it of him, but he always, always does that for us. So a couple of examples. One time I stuck my foot so far in my mouth, but this is just to show how imperfect we are and that we can be better. So to never give up on someone, right? So myself now can't believe I asked this question, but a few years ago, I asked him what the big deal was about the statues downtown because I just didn't get it. And I wasn't asking in a finger pointy way. I was asking in a legitimate, I don't understand. And he just said to me, you know, they're put up really high and they're looking down on us. And they're especially looking down on the African American community. And he blew my mind when he told me when the statues were erected, that they hadn't been there as long as I thought they had been. And that it really was Charleston as a city trying to keep Black people in their place.
Yeah.
But the most influential moment happened when he was telling me about how he's teaching his young son how to treat a police officer when he's pulled over. So he told me that he gets pulled over very often, not his son, because his son's too young to drive. His son's like 6, but that Marcus gets pulled over all the time. And it's always because he was a suspect for something. It just bums me out. So he said when a police officer approaches, he has to put his hands at 10 and 2. He has to speak not too loudly, not too softly. He absolutely has to turn whatever music completely off. He can't make any sudden movements. He has to say, yes, sir, no, sir. He has to speak very monotone, very planned out, very much like this. And it broke me to pieces because the last time I encountered a police officer, I told him off. I told him that he was wrong. And I told him that he shouldn't have stopped me. And I quoted the book to him. I was like, I'm a good driver. I didn't break any laws just now. You need to step away from my car. And you know what he did? He walked away and he called me a B word as he walked away. But he walked away.
Mhm.
I didn't die. I didn't leave in handcuffs. So when Marcus told me about what he has to teach his son about respecting police officers, it shone a light in the worst way on something that I did not realize that I had. And I'm not exaggerating when I say there hasn't been a week, probably a day that goes by that I don't remember what Marcus told me, how he has to act, how he has to train his son to act. And it humbled me in a very real way. So I'm very grateful for Marcus in our lives.
And I think that's so hard for us to understand because, you know, like you said, Melissa, in our house, we were always proud of the fact that we were these colorblind parents. We didn't describe other children by, you know, Black friends or white friends or Hispanic friends or whatever friends, right? We always tried to find other ways to describe who these people were that did not point out their skin color because we thought we were raising our children to be colorblind. But I don't really think that's what we need right now. I think we need to be talking to our children about these things and those types of experiences. And one of the things that has been a big topic in our house is the Charles Wakefield Jr. case, a man who was wrongfully convicted and spent 35 years of his life in prison for a crime he didn't commit. He almost had his life taken by the state. And using that conversation to help our kids understand that these are the types of issues that even now that Black people still face, and we don't see it and we don't understand it, because we don't experience it, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Oh, God,
And
that's the perfect phrase. Exactly that. It's the perfect phrase. Just because we don't experience it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And when we talk about this from a white perspective, a white mom perspective, a white libertarian even perspective, the idea of putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and trying to say, what would this look like if I was in somebody else's shoes? Like I don't think we do enough of that. And I certainly don't think our laws do enough of that. And the idea that, God, Alex, your story is so, it's breaking my heart too, as I hear about it, because the last time I experienced law enforcement in my vehicle, they changed my tire for me.
Oh,
Even though I was on the side of the road changing my own tire, they stopped to help me because here I am, a white lady in my business clothes, and probably I didn't know what I was doing. And so while I was sort of outraged by this, like, look at this, like my husband sells tires. I know how to change my own tire. In fact, they mucked it all up and there's a whole long story associated with that. But the point is, as indignant as I was about that, it's not like they pulled up and I thought I'm going to get in trouble here. They'd never threatened me in any way. And yet I know my friends, the women that I am friends with, the Black women that I am friends with, are teaching their children exactly what Marcus is teaching his son. And that's frustrating. When we think of a free country, it's not freedom for white people. It's free for all people. And as free people, they have every right to say, you did not pull me over lawfully and you need to back off, right? And they don't have the right at this point to do that because they will be met with force.
And I think it's also important while we're having these conversations, because this is also something that I have discussed with my children, is that it's really hard for us to understand. I say us, like us as white people, us who have not experienced these things. You know, you hear a lot about the angry Black man or the angry Black woman. Wouldn't you be angry too?
Yeah.
I mean, teaching
yes.
our children to understand that it's not coming from a place because they just hate white people. They hate the hand they've been dealt, and they have every right to feel that way. And if they're angry at you, they're not angry at you necessarily. They're angry at the whole situation. And you don't have to like it, but you need to respect it because it's the way they feel and it's a legitimate thing.
When we first moved to Columbia in 2012, I joined a running group. I'd found this gal who had mapped a run near my house on the app, Map My Run. And I said, hey, are you running with a group? And if so, can I join you? She had mapped a run at 5:30 in the morning, and not everybody runs at 5:30 in the morning, and I do. I found her on Map My Run, and I reached out to her and said, hey, are you running with a group? And she said, yes. I said, may I join your group? She said, you're welcome to. I'd be glad to get to know you and invite you to be part of the group. She said, just so you know, the group is called Black Girls Run. And I was like, okay. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. Again, like I said, coming from Northern Virginia, going to Clemson, like feeling like I'm this super accepting colorblind person, let's make this happen. And she was extraordinarily welcoming and very kind. And there were quite a few other women there that welcomed me and made me feel comfortable there. But there was a faction there that did not want me there. And I don't blame them. They felt like they had called the group Black Girls Run to make it clear that it was for Black women and that I had no business there. And so I ended up leaving the group. And I told the gal that invited me, I said, I still really like you and my friends that I had made there, I still continue to run with them. But like, I don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable. And I understand this is their group and they made it clear that it's their group. And I'm glad to like step away. But that's the first time I've ever been part of that. And I think like, this isn't like a Karen cry moment. It was more like I wanted to make friends and I found the friends I needed and the friends that didn't welcome me. It's okay to walk away. I mean, I've been kicked out of book clubs and felt the same way. So it's the same, like to me, it was the same sort of concept. Like they like to run, I like to run, but they want to be with other women that look like them and I don't belong here. That's fine. There's book clubs where they read nonfiction. I read fiction. That's cool. We all like to read, but that doesn't mean we like to read the same thing. Like to me, like all of these things were the same. What do you guys think? Have you been intentionally excluded by other people because of your race?
I don't think I ever have. I mean, I can't remember a time when I have.
If I was, I didn't notice. So it couldn't have been that bad.
Or that
So
blatant?
no. Yeah. So no is the answer.
Yeah.
I don't think that I have either. And is it weird that I'm like convicted by this? Because you know that our Black sisters and counterpart, you know they have. Every
Oh
one of them has
yeah.
a story about it, and none of us do.
Yeah. Well, so that's the
Good.
thing is, as an entrepreneur in Colombia, I spent a lot of time in minority circles, and I spent a lot of time with with black women, right? With other women entrepreneurs, most of whom are Black. And they are repeatedly told that they don't belong here. They're repeatedly made to feel that that is not the right place for them. And this was the first time I'd ever experienced it back in, it's like 2012. First time I'd ever
That
experienced it.
sounds absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Why? Why would anybody say that? I don't understand. I just don't understand. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I
I mean,
understand that it happens. I just don't understand why.
yeah, I don't know. God, I like if we could answer the why question, we'd be making a shit ton of money right now.
For real.
Nobel Prizes all around.
In the meantime, we're all just here like, my God, white privilege, weird.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, so some of this though too is lighthearted. So Alex, you got a really good friend who's Black, and I have multiple really good friends who are also Black. They make fun of me. I have a white Jeep. They all think I should put privilege on the white Jeep on the license plate. Like, I mean, to me, like when we get into this sort of lighthearted banter, when I get into that banter with my friends, like I take it for granted that not all Black people are going to see me that way. They don't all know me the way my Black friends know me. And so I think that's something different too. How do you navigate that? And how do you help your kids navigate that? Because Holly walks into this family picnic, into the church picnic. She thinks everybody's a kid, everybody's her friend. She goes into another situation where she's the only white girl there. That may not be the experience that she's greeted with. So how do you help your kids navigate that? How do you help them understand that not everybody that you know that looks like those people are going to treat you the same way as those people?
Well, it's really, I think, just teaching them that no matter, you can't control how someone is going to treat you, but you can control how you treat them, right? And if you try to enter a group, I mean, just like your experience, Kasie, like that's such a great story because you entered this group not knowing, I mean, and they kicked you out, and I mean, what grace to walk away and say, I get it, like I totally understand. And I mean, I think that's what I want to teach my kids, is that this thing exists, whether other people see it or not, whether people acknowledge it, whether you experience it, it exists. And this is how it makes people feel. And some of them will be receptive to you trying to love them and be part of their life and understand what they're going through and be there for them. And some of them won't. And if they won't, then you need to respect that, because that's their boundaries. That's what they need. Some people will need for you to be there and listen and be their ally and be their champion. And some people are just going to need for you to leave them the hell alone. And that's okay. So I think teaching them just to respect that it exists, and that people are going to react to it differently, and that you have to be compassionate regardless of how they react and how they treat you.
Good stuff. Melissa's giving the thumbs up, like double thumbs up down here. You want to add something to that?
Well, I think that resonates with the way my father always raised us. Now, it wasn't quite in this context, but if they don't want to be your friend, that's their loss. So you go into it, you be nice to everybody, you respect people, I will respect your decision and find someone else to be friends with or walk with or whatever. But yeah. Not everybody's going to get along all the time. You try, you extend the respect.
But I think that
That's all you
goes
can do.
directly to our libertarian principles that says things like upholding freedom of speech and freedom of religion, where we say they don't have to say nice things. They just have to have the right to say whatever they want to say. And so as much as you go into a situation, you try to be compassionate and love that person and love your community and love your neighbors. And I want to understand and I want to participate and I want to help in whatever way I can. When you're not welcome there and you walk away, it's because they have a right to kick you out, and they have a right to be racist. They have a right to be protectionist. They have a right to be, this is our faith and this is what we believe. They have a right to say, this is what we want and we don't want you here. And not everybody gets to be in all the places all the time. Everybody, and these people who have a right to be there also have a right to kick you out. And so respecting that is like a key libertarian principle. I think it was really sweet of you, Jessica, to say it was grace to walk away. It's not grace. It's recognizing that if you're not wanted, why would you want to stay in a place you're not wanted? And we can do a whole episode on that at some point too. Alex, weigh in here at the end of the episode on this feeling or this sense that maybe it was, if it was the first time, or if you think people have a right to exclude others. And I don't know, like just weigh in and then we're going to go.
I feel like we're all
Final word, Alex, final word.
Oh God, that's not pressure at all. I feel like we're all dancing around this. So I'm going to go ahead and nerd completely out and tell you what I'm thinking about while we're thinking about this. I'm thinking about the free market of friendship, right? Because everything is a market. Everything is on a marketplace. The only way to force a kid to be friends with somebody else is for there to be regulation. Of course, there's not going to be government regulation, but you don't want parents forcing kids to do something. You want good conversation. You want things to be heartfelt. You don't want anything to be regulated or forced. And in the marketplace, there needs to be competition, right? So there's one group that they may not want you, but the good thing about friendship and relationships is that there's so many people. So there is competition. There's another group. Go find them. It's going to be great. But ultimately, what I think about when I think about little Perry is I want him to know and to believe and to just be wholeheartedly sold out on the idea that he is so completely and utterly loved at home. And call me naive for hoping that this is the way it works out, but I want him to know that he's so completely and utterly loved that if he does get kicked out of a group, or if he isn't accepted by another group, he's like, you know what, that's fine. I got all the love I need. I'm going to go find me some other people, but I want him to be respectful and I want him to be kind. And I hope that if he or if I ever have a situation like you, Kasie, that we treat it the exact same way. Cause my Lord, I'm so inspired by I'm sorry to keep, like, Jessica doted on you. I'm going to dote on you too. I just think it's really cool. A lot of people would have been Karens in that situation and you weren't. So get it, girl. But yeah,
I'd say that's pretty graceful.
Absolutely.
I mean, more than anything, like I'm a storyteller and a public speaker. When the audience tells you you don't belong there, you just walk off the stage. So, all right, speaking of walking off the stage, this is it. That's the end of this particular episode. This is episode 3 of Parenting Porcupines. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe. Make sure you leave us some comments. We've got a Facebook page. We have the blog. All the show notes are in the blog and they're linked here in the comment section below. Thanks for being part of this. Everybody say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
And we'll see you next time.